For those of you that were at the AGM last night, we talked about putting the P back in AMP in preservation. This is directly what I was talking about with getting involved with the National Museum of Armor and Cavalry, as well as the foundation that Rick Young, our major retired, is going to probably jump up and talk a little bit about, just so we, so we kind of wrap this whole thing up. But we want to be able to help these folks to restore, so they're available for us folks to, potentially take a look at, make measurements and, do all those things on. So we're trying to foster a relationship with museums like this at the national level as well as the local level. So, without further ado, Tad Garrett, thank you very much.
Mind if I sit down?
No.
We've got such a big group. Okay, I'm Dave Hobbs. I'm a Master Sergeant currently serving with the Armor School in Fort Benning, and as I introduced Ricky Young in the back, who's taking care of and running the association. And our relationship is that since we're on Army post and we're doing Army stuff, that the association is the one that's handling the money for the museum and getting the stuff going. And so if someone was to, example, donate paint to do something, it would have to go through Mr. Young to get to us, because we can't accept it directly to being the Army post. So this brief was given at AMPS Atlanta in February. It's about, I think it's about 15, 20 slides. It's kind of short, not a lot on the vehicles. There's a couple of updates and overviews of things that's happened. But to run it down, what the actual thing, real quick in brief on it, is the old 2AD motor pool in Sand Hill from 1940. And that's where Patton stood up in Patton's headquarters, is next door in Patton Village there. And this building here is two 10-ton overhead lifts. And then we have 3 outdoor pads right now that have overhead cover. So basically giant Quonset or sheds with open sides. And then we are working now to get everything that's older, it gets in first, it gets inside the museum, gets protected. But right now we have more vehicles inside this one building than we'd had at Fort Knox that are inside. So we got everything everything armor related from Aberdeen, and then the stuff at Lee stayed at Lee, and we sent non-armor stuff, i.e. artillery and ADA, went to Fort Sill. And we have stuff from Snelling and Anniston and everywhere else that's being brought to us. So opener here, you see it's Cobra King. She's got a place down there in the end, and she was restored at Knox, as we all know. Okay, slide please. Slide. This is another view. This is one of the overhead sheds right here. That's basically the layout. Most of these Shermans now have been moved over to Harmony Church, where the basic training and the AOB and officer training go, and we have a building over there. We have 19 vehicles currently set up right now, and we're going to do a test run with that with the scout competition that's coming up next week, and I'm going to do an event in there. So we have 7 Shermans, and then some light tanks, and a couple AT guns and some half tracks. That's basically the line up here. So, slide. Hey, again, our mission statement goes all the way back to 1700s for the armor and cavalry, all the way back, and the primary mission is to educate, train armor crewmen, cavalry troopers, Marine Corps tankers, armor vehicle mechanics, and also with both Marine Corps and Army on everything aspects doing with the tanks. So the director comes in, he'll get a class of lieutenants will come in, and he'll get the spiel, the whole 9 yards. He'll start at World War I and work all the way through, and depending on the group and the time, he'll get the full brief on armor development, armor type, and vehicles. Slide. There's our KT from Knox, and the Stug in the back. That's the far end of the building. Cobra King would be right here, and then back and forth. That's the old T-34 that was at Knox as well. Slide. Okay, primary scope. We gather everything related to the cavalry and armor all the way through. All the micro artifacts that were at Knox are kept at the National Infantry Museum on the other side of the post. They have a vault there. We're sharing a vault with them. Also, that's where we have the arms room. We have all that equipment. The curator has her office there, located with the Infantry Museum curator. She's been on it. She's been going through and getting everything updated and changed over for the new systems, and that's her primary mission. And then it's also preservation.
Is she the one from Fort Knox or something else?
No. This is a new one. She's a reserve major, but she's been working this job for about 6 months now. So a lot of the only people from Fort Knox now are Mr. Dyer, who is the director, and then Frank Albano's the mechanic. Okay. And then also, also, the second portion of it is all the foreign artifacts, all the OPFOR stuff we call it, all the stuff that's been captured or brought in. So that's why we got a lot of the Aberdeen stuff and a lot of stuff that was at the original Fort Knox. Third scope is research and development and checking and trying to capture and preserve experimentals. So we've got all the T-girls, the big heavies, we've got the MBTs, we've got some of the light vehicles, we've got some of the twister armored cars, some experimental one-offs. And Land works day and night trying to get more stuff in there to preserve as we have vehicles come on the platform. Like we don't have a Striker yet, but the Army's looking, and we don't have a Bradley in our collection, the infantry does, but the idea would be to get the first couple vehicles out of that set those aside and put them away so they can be preserved, and preferably a runner. The other issue we have, when we get a vehicle, it's most of the time it's stripped, there's no BII, that's what we want to have. We want to have it as in service and keep it and preserve it, and that's what we're going to do. Okay, and then anything non-Cavalry, like I said, it moves to different, through CMH, Center of Military History, goes to the proper museum. Slide. That's the older shot. That's the building in the facade. You're coming in the entranceway. This center section here has now been filled up and moved, and the 234-4 is moved to the back shed. And over here on the right, on this side right here, we've got our new awning. And when I took off to come down here, they were moving all the 48, 47, 46 types of Korean War stuff into that building and moving around. So, slide. All right. Primary purpose is to train soldiers. Secondary, of course, is getting back to mil spec. Not to get them operational again because of the costs incurred for POL and maintenance, and also, let's say we got the Tiger running and she burned, what would we do? Or she got caught on fire. So it's to preserve it and keep it up to, keep fluid in it where it has fluid, but just to keep it so it won't deteriorate any further. We're not doing any living history reenactment program like they did at Knox. We had some issues at Knox with that where it was certain vehicles were getting abused or whatnot. And we also had a lot of issues with guys wanting to play, but they didn't want to do the recovery afterwards. So there were some issues with that. The archives and library are being worked on by an archivist over there at the NIM, and it is not open to the public. However, it's i.e. like it wouldn't be like it was at Knox. You could come in at all times. Len is very open and very, very accommodating if someone wants to come down, and we'll just state purpose what you're coming down for. Hey, I'm in town, I want to see some stuff, and especially with the AMPS guys, especially we can get that open. That's why I'll be the L&O for that. If I get the contact, I'll know when you're going to come. What we want to know ahead of time a little bit though, A, to save you time for not having to go all the way down there. B, is that if we have a class or something going on, we can actually schedule it. I can't get the keys and get in on a weekend as well. That was an issue before we weren't able to do because those guys are GS. Not able to work weekends, but I can get the keys and get in there and do it. And it's not set up like the NIM. Anybody been to the National Infantry Museum in Benning at all? How that's working, and then it's, or how Patton is. Okay, slide. That's a M26 that was pulled out of Eglin, that was formerly, pulled the pack out and instead had been rebuilt in 52 in Germany. And that went over with Ricky Young's for the other gate over by the NIM where the museum is projected to be in the back. They have 10 vehicles out there, and this is one of the ones that was restored. This is also one of the ones that was painted by donated time from a painting outfit into paint through the association. So the Marines are there working on that, and that's where they're getting that ready to go. And that's the primary. This is Len Dyer's primary bay. Right there in that bay now, there's a Stewart with the hex turret. And the next bay over, I've got the Sheridan. I got to get done for Just Cause. Slide.
What's the
back up?
Yeah.
It's the Liberty.
Okay, that's
yep,
Liberty.
There
okay,
she
yeah.
is. We go to the Tiger turret, the Tiger hull, the engine, and then you got the Liberty, and then the Mark V Star. On the right side, if I have pictures of it, the 1918, the 3-ton, the T4, M2A1, and then in the left right there with the two kids sitting down in the back there, they got one of the FTs that we got in Afghanistan. And that was stripped all the way down to bare bone, and now they're putting it back together and got it set up. I think I have pictures of that with me, but if you want to see pictures of that, I can get them to you. Slide.
Whatever happened to the Mark IV female?
She's in Anniston, and I'll remind me of that at the end. We'll talk about that at the end because there's something going down with that. So, 413 total. They're spread around. I had to do some number change of where they're at. We have. The 4303 is the new building over in Harmony Church. The Allied shed is the back to our Allied access. There's about 60, 70 over there. So anything you can fit in the mill van, Type 97, Schwinn wagon, AT gun, it fits in the van. We got how many mill vans? We got about 40. Yeah, 40 mill vans set up and stuff is out back, so it's sealed up. 3 Vics over now, and the armor gallery at the NIM. I'm going to talk about that real quick. Inside the NIM, in the National Infantry Museum, they have galleries in the basement area and also have like a large area for functions. Well, ours is down on the left, and there's a walk around going through from cavalry time going all the way around. And they've got an FT, and then we've got the 113. I can't remember what the other one was. Oh, the Stewart. The Stewart. We did the Stewart with the horse courier messenger guy handing the message over, and then it was Delta 116. If I remember right, on the ACAV, wasn't it?
Yeah, Delta 16th Cav.
Delta 16th Cav and the ACAV for the Vietnam era. And then there's interactive stuff and folded gap stuff and all the way through, currently through Afghanistan. Okay, outside on ramp with 56 is a little bit less, and then we've got 72 vehicles scattered throughout Fort Benning on display. So a lot of the stuff that was at Knox went out, and then with the Army Museum patent walk, they brought out another 12 working on that. So slide. There's our old T-34, Martyr 2. The other Martyr 2's out in the back. The back corner. You can see how it's accessible, but it's kind of limited to get around. But you know, we can open doors and get that stuff. Jagd Tiger sitting right out the back of this door right here. Slide. Okay, everything that's at Aberdeen is being moved inside and set up, and that's where we're trying to get the stuff that the 51 sets that are vehicles that are at Anniston, like the Jagd Panther and the Nashorn, some of the British stuff. A lot of the other things are over there. The other idea, or the things that we're working on right now, all the macros are getting undercover. So if it's a newer vehicle like a 113, it's going to be outside until we get space, but everything's getting pulled in as we go and as we get more stuff built. Okay, and then here's the problem with the available parts and funds. That's the big issue with the 3-man staff. That's why we have trainees come over and assist, and they get some hands-on. Slide.
How about that Leopold that was at Aberdeen? What do they do with that?
That's down at Fort Lee.
Yeah. Yeah, there was either going to stuff was if Lee restored or if Aberdeen restored it, it stayed at Lee for the most part, and then if it was artillery, it was actually going to go to Sill, but I don't think they could clear the rail that long to get that thing down there. This is the
It's
T4.
too expensive, I think, to get
Yep.
it moved down there in the first place.
Here's a T4 Christie, the only one remaining, and she's pretty seized up, but the Armor School Sergeant Major is trying to get us to get it moved over where there's a picture of that painting. We want to get it over to the old Armor School and get it photo shot, but bring it back. M3 Scout Car in the back, and then to the left is the M2A1 that was at Fort Knox doing the engine change back in the old display. Slide. And this is where Mr. Young comes in with the National Armor Foundation, History Foundation, and get the fundage up there to get that thing built so we can get in there and get the museum completed. And it'll be a concept as the National Infantry Museum, so it'll be fully accessible and have the whole history there. And vehicles, looking at vehicle dioramas, all the vehicles being stored, everything fully accessible and up to spec so we can get that museum going.
Your timeline as to when that could be done?
Right now, projected timeline is 2020.
Our projected timeline, we keep getting bumped back for facility upgrade up in like 18. But we're behind a couple other museums. Also, there's the National Army Museum that's going to be built in Washington, and they're already talking about coming and cherry picking all the stuff that they want up there.
Yeah, it's a 600-pound gorilla.
Yep. And that means Cobra King probably, stuff like that the field museums have, they want it to be in that one central location. Okay, slide. This is a view from the back Allied shed prior to us moving a lot of vehicles over. Take that, about half of that stuff has been moved now. So you got the Brit stuff in the back. There's the Anniston Lee over there without the turret, running back down the Shermans on this side. The Staghound, we got the Crocodile that was up at Aberdeen. The Lee Grant hybrids next to that, and then the Shermans are running down the end. The Panthers are way down in the end. So the Jagd Tigers are going to the far end of that shed, all the way down to the left is where the Jagd Tiger will end up. That far building down there is on the demo list. They had to strip it out, but it had all our stewards. They had the 15 stewards in there in a Sheridan at one point. So, slide. This is the new 4303. This is the right-hand shot. This is what we've been doing the last 2 weeks. So we've got the lineage set up so I can go through and talk Sherman. And my concept was something experimental earlier. So we didn't bring the Lee over. The old M3A3 that was at Knox, the Kentucky, that's staying over at the other yard for the progression. But T5E1, and then I go to a direct vision A3, and then we go to our cast A1, into our 105 howitzer, into our 75 wet stowage, into our M4A 176, and then finally with the Easy 8, and then we go a couple Stewarts, and then a 24 or 41 in the Sheridan at the end. And on this side of the building, it's going to be, it has the a 37 to 57 mil AT and M3 Scout car at M8, M20, and a M3 half track. And then at the far end is where we'll be doing the functions for that. So this building does not, it's got heater but no air conditioning, but it's a good sized building. It's got a little bit of work to do. To the left side of it, there's a walk-through area, the latrine, but they're going to be building the gym over on that side. So that's where we're at right now. I know they got a lot more stuff done on this since I've been gone. Okay, slide. So short and sweet, but the big thing we get is how can we donate monies, and that's why we direct that to the association. The association does the legalities to get that stuff, whatever it is, and properly set up and done. What I would like would be guys to come down and help out and volunteer and stuff, but you can't do that due to location geography. But that's the big thing. We get a lot of guys. We get a lot of guys showing up. I want to work, and then you never see them again. So, or sometimes they come down and say, well, it wasn't what I thought it would be, and then they're moved out and they're gone. So
It's about a 1,400-mile commute for me.
yeah, you fly ya. But any questions?
So what's the armor school that was at Fort Knox that moved down to Benton?
Yes, it's both. They're both infantry and armor school, both co-located under the maneuver center.
So what's at Knox now?
Knox still has the HRC, and they just deactivated the brigade, but that's basically what's said is the HRC and the ACRC.
What's that?
Human Resource Command, headquarters. Yeah.
They also have the U.S. Army Cadet Command and
Oh,
U.S.
forgot
Army
about it.
Recruiting Command.
Forgot about those two.
ROTC.
What do they do with the Patton Museum?
She is it's the Patton School or Patton Museum of Leadership, and it's got all of his artifacts in there. They brought in some more things. They kept a few vehicles, and like the M4A4 they had up there. I drove by there a couple months ago. It had a 60 M4A4, and they have all the Patton stuff.
Don't go in there. You just puke.
But then you take like all the weapons that were on the wall that were in there. Those are all moved down to Benning in the vault. So here's our T-girls, our two 103s, and we get into all our 30s, 29s, and etc. The T28 is there as well, the 4-tracker, she's out. And then we break down some 60s, some experimental N1s all the way down. So what you do when you come in the gate on that way, you come down this road as you're driving in, you just see gun tubes. And then enter through here. Russian stuff's to the left. So we still got the JS3, still have the PT-76, we got the old T-34-76 and another T-34-85. We had 4 T-72s, we had 5 55s, a 62, and Burdams and Bimps and some assorted Gulf War stuff that's in the back 40, and that Luke's that we had at Knox as well. So there's the Mark 8. She's doing better, but in the back, the track is actually shattered and broken. She will not roll, of course, so she gets lifted and moved. But all the World War I stuff gets in and gets inside, so we can stop the deterioration. Everybody would complain, oh, Aberdeen this, Aberdeen that. If Aberdeen had not kept this stuff, because they could have scrapped it all in 50s and 60s, because they didn't have the space to put it indoors. But they kept it. But they kept it, and that's the main thing. So when I first walked in here in 12, I couldn't believe all the stuff because I never got to go to Aberdeen. So I'm walking in like, I know that's an Aberdeen piece, Aberdeen, everywhere we go. So actually, when Charles Lemons, the old director, was down last year, we were inside. We pulled the breech on this 6-pounder, and once we cleaned all the old paint off it, and that she functioned fine. We got her cleaned up, and if you go down, I don't know if I have a photo, but down this way, right behind us in the Mark V Star, there's a tool room. Well, in front of that, Len set up an ammunition display. I don't know, he's probably got 2,000 sets of rounds and ammunition and whatnot. And right across from that, we have fire control components, and behind that, we have commo equipment that's set up.
Cool.
Over there there's a WLA Harley, and then the M2A1 or one of the lights, the twin turret lights. I don't remember the nomenclature.
I seem to recall Jack saying something. They had 10,000 items that belonged to APG. They could never put out on display. It was ammunition, even vacuum tubes, all kinds of crazy
What we
stuff.
wanted to get were those cannon stands.
Yeah.
They never made it down. Either they're still in Aberdeen or they went to Lee. And there's a lot of stuff that's still up there, a lot of archive stuff. Here's the Soviet end, the Russian line. Again, as I said, the JS3, the 76, all the way down the line. That's as you enter the gate this way, it's to the left. Okay? And if you want to pop that other folder.
You mentioned that there are no plans right now for any kind of running or reenactors and things like that. And I know that creates its own headaches, but that was also one of the joys of the Patton Museum versus Aberdeen. Aberdeen was all static stuff, and when you went to the Patton Museum a couple times a year, they do like the history armor or whatever.
It's all about money now.
I get it.
That's the big thing.
Would there
We
be
can't-
plans in the future maybe to have some days where you bring a few things out running, like the old days of the Richardson Motor Pool and stuff?
I doubt it, just for the fact of keeping the stuff maintained for right now. We got 3 projects going on right now. The Stewart's been going on for 2 years, and the Sheridan was a relatively easy or not that labor intensive, just with fabrication. But that's the primary focus right now, is to get the stuff that's before it's too far gone.
Sure.
And then we're still once or twice a month, we're still going out and cutting welds off hatches and getting into stuff just as time allows. Or
Right.
Part of my language, when somebody gets a wild hair up their ass, we're going to go out and check some stuff out. We just opened up that old Panzer IV G. They've been locked up forever. The cutaway, went and cut the hatches on that one day, and we found a bunch of stuff. So it's just the way it is. There's our Mark 8 again. I just run it through.
This is slightly painful on a Mac.
No, I can't do the.
You know what I can do? Hold on a second here.
Any questions about vehicles, or what made it down, or what got set up?
Yeah, about the only one I could think of is whatever happened to T-92. Did that go out to sill?
No, that's the lowrider with the skinny turret.
That's the SP-240.
Oh no, yeah, that went to sell. I remember the team, because that.
Yeah, that was a basket case. They took it apart and went to restore it, and then they lost half the parts, like the carriage.
I was thinking, what the heck was I thinking about? There's that other experimental that's pre M1, had the hydraulics on it too.
MBT.
Or T-95?
Yeah, the 95. That's what I was
Yeah,
thinking.
they had a lot of weird stuff that came out from behind the fence when they were shipping it.
I got to say something. It does my heart good to see a big, long roof over so many of those vehicles, because
Yes.
I can remember going to Aberdeen as a kid in the 70s
Yeah.
and seeing a model out front. Yeah, we're going to build this, facility one day, and I realize it's all
Never got
about
the
money
money.
and priorities. But
I'll read online. They have the webpage, National Cavalry Army Museum webpage, and it's starting to get a lot of BS on there, because we're supposed to be talking tank and doing stuff. But I'll hear once or twice a month somebody get on Missing Links or somewhere and be like, okay, all that stuff's doing is rusting down there in Benning, or why did they go to Benning? I remember one time a little while ago, I just got to get over it. It's done. The bracket's done.
Yeah.
There's efforts being made, and it's being done. We're about 90% on what we're getting inside. It can't be outside anymore. Look at the Italian open tops,
Yeah.
and all the Italian or the Japanese stuff. It's not there. I got the Type 95 out of the mill van. I got it inside. She's in pretty decent shape too as well. But the 97 is going to stay back unless I can find an M2 or M4A2, and I'm put on the back deck like killer. But she was restored in 91. I'm at the basic then. I didn't see her. And then when I went back in 94, so the King Tiger, of course, she's dusty, but she's still pretty decent. She's pretty complete. She's further down on the list to get any TLC. Go to the next one. There's our 251-9 or D9 late. That was totally restored at Knox and brought up. In the back is the Panzer III. That's a kind of a bastardized hybrid as well. That was the one that was at Knox. It was a runner. Behind that is the Panzer IV G, early G, and then that Panther that's behind the SP or the Schützenpanzer. That's the October 44 build Daimler G model. And we finally got the back deck and took all the coolers off, and she's pretty far gone, but the stuff's complete. But it was really cool to go in there and talk about fire control and talk about turret drive on that vehicle, because what we did in October, we had to go over to the headquarters building and do the Fury preview. So we went through a SpinX about 2 months to get the Panther II done, and got her totally stripped down and repainted. And then I went and got a hold of the Elco M4 that sat over in Kelly Hill in front of the tank battalion. Got those headed over in the 2 AT guns. They did that whole thing, and then the Panther turret still spins like a dream, like a champ. So she rolls pretty good. A little bit hard to pull around, but it's good to go. The Cavalry Jeep, as you see, there's on the right side. So as you're looking down, you got the American stuff on the right. Cobra King's down there. We've got the M4A1 flame tank. It's a late 76, but it's got a flame gun on it, one of the experimentals. There's an M18 in the back and another M10. Okay, go to the next one. There's Len's ammo collection. So you start out small arms left all the way through. We have 3 main guns. We have 256, 120, a L7 or M68 105, and an M3. And then right behind us, we have a 75 turret trainer and a comma stuff toward the back. There's our 3-ton. There's the old 1918. And then this is another shot of the backyard there before we moved all the Vicks. Next one.
What happened to the other 3-ton?
Which one?
What happened to the second 3-ton?
I don't know where that went to.
Aberdeen had one and Knox had one.
Yeah, I think the Aberdeen one went to Lee, I believe.
Probably.
So I don't think it's in Anniston because we would have got eyes on.
It had been restored, it was in the shop up there,
Mhm.
the 4538.
Yeah, that's the G that was behind the Pat Museum, and that's our tug that we used that was acquired up at Fort Knox for the move. The other one broke down. That's another thing we need help with, and for a service in that dang thing, because it's gonna eventually go. But that does wonders on hard surface. But we get in some dirt, she's done because she has slick tires. But moving the Panther around to get her back over to where she's supposed to be set. Okay, slide. The same thing moving.
Can't wheel a deal with transportation for a tractor of some sort?
We've been.
They don't play well that way.
We need a 30K forklift, 30K forklift, and
Yeah.
we have another forklift that they picked up from DRMO, and they had to piece it together from 8 different
Yeah.
things. We're getting all the hand-me-down stuff, and there's no
Yeah.
funding on our side.
DRMO is not a good term to hear.
Yep. And the next one is the leveling her out because the torsion bars are shot. The A model's to the left, and there's the 2. Next one. That's the A that was at Aberdeen. That thing is very good inside. She's very good, complete. Ammo racks are still in primer, and then complete motor. And you see the back shed's getting demoed. Yep. Next one. That's the current state of the G. As they took all the metal off, and we're climbing around in her. She was a hard roller too. The track was seized pretty bad, as it was on the Panzer 3L. We had to torch the track off that because it would not move. But we have all the track in the back set up. There's another one of the G model. After this is the 4 has not been needle gun, but this is after we needle gun down to get all the paint down on it,
Right.
and eventually get it into primer and get her sealed up again. She's relatively good shape too. Pulled the gun tube out, or pulled the muzzle brake off last year. A lot of heat, got it off. Couldn't see down the gun tube, so opened up was trying to figure out how the Germans would clean the bore. So we opened up the escape hatch, got some 105 rods and rammed them down, and there was some obstruction. So we were pushing away. A bunch of sludge starts coming out, and all of a sudden hopefully it wasn't a Baltimore Oiler, it's probably a Sterling from Aberdeen.
Starling, yeah.
The Sterling plops out and lays there, petrified. Who knows how long it's been in the tube.
A what?
A Starling, little blackbird.
Yeah.
But cleaned it up, looked down the lands and grooves, the barrel is mint. So again, October 44, she got IR kit, IR mount set up, and she's got the IR adapter that goes from the gun that will go up through the cupola so you can hook your IR set on top.
So all the ones that were cut open are gonna leave open?
Yeah. Everything, they'll stay inside for procedure. I mean,
Yeah.
same with the Tiger 1. The Tiger 1, after the Germans had painted it up and brought it back, a lot of that paint's deteriorated, so when it got brought back. I don't think I have any Tiger 1 pictures in here, but it's just been needle gun as well. Okay, next one. It's gonna be you saw that. Next, the 3 with the original paint. Next. And then her final drive is seized, so we didn't button the track back up yet. But we did have a gentleman that was in the 37th that came out last week, and he's 91 years old. He was a replacement St. Lo in summer '44, rode with 37th the whole way through, and on 26 December he was in the second tank behind her. He was a gunner, and behind him was Abrams in his Jeep, and behind Abrams was one of the Thunderbolts as they rolled into town, into Bastogne. So we had a bunch of photos of him standing out front. Quite a few stories.
It's one of the classic stories of the war. I love that one because the museum in Bastogne had a thing there where they talk about the fact when Cobra King broke in.
Yep.
And they called back and said, we broke it through to Bastogne. And so Abrams says, great, and how wide a front? And the guy turned and says, hey, how wide's a Sherman?
She rolled in pretty good shape, so.
Road width.
It's also cool to go there and see the Link-Up Point
Yeah.
outside Bastogne.
It is,
Good trip a couple years ago. Next one, there's our N, which I'm concern with both the Panzer IIIs. I want to get them, we're going to have to take the whole entire superstructure and engine deck off. I can't remember if it's this or the L between the engine, the superstructure and the engine deck. The freeze rust and all the rust has been separating the two.
Ooh.
And same thing with the fender L rails. They've been coming off as well, just from sitting outside. But they're in now. And the G13, which we can't say Hetzer, because Mr. Jentz will strike us down with lightning from above. But Panzerjäger 38T, or that's actually a Swiss G13. Okay, and our Strumabut's a 42, and the end, I think I've doubled up on a couple shots, but that was as we're filling the vehicles in, so everything else.
Did you ever get the groundhog nest out of that?
Probably not.
I didn't realize that the suckers lived in that thing.
Oh, yeah.
I went up there one day to take a picture, and all of a sudden, this, what the hell is that? And you look down, here's one of them between the road wheels. That was his home.
We got I don't remember what tank it was. One of the tanks we were moving though, we could see birds flying in and out of the gun tube.
Oh, yeah.
All day long. I think it's the 55 we moved out. They took a couple of vehicles out to a range for the scouts to do some call for fire and some ID stuff. So they get some real deal training. I got 25 years and I never got real vehicles on a range for me. I was always doing flashcards or doing slides. Yeah, I think that's about it. Yep.
There was an ancient Dick Tracy comic strip, I remember, where the criminals were hiding out in a monument tank.
Yes, I remember that.
And the bees chased them out.
Yeah. We had to be careful with the stuff when it was at APG, because a lot of times you wouldn't climb on the vehicles. Since the American ones all had hollow track pins, wasps and hornets loved those things.
Yeah.
There were times you'd step on the track, all of a sudden, like little torpedoes coming out looking for who's bugging them.
The 3 Sheridans we got, the one we're doing right now, I had to choose this one because it had the gun that was the least amount of recoil on a battery. The tank had a 18-foot pine tree growing through the escape hatch off the driver's hole. You know, the 152, pretty substantial bore. We dug out 18 wasp nests out of the gun tube, and then you go back to the phone box, and you'd have to lift it with a stick and get out of it because we have the big, I don't even know what they are, the big brown ones.
Got nasty critters.
Hornets.
But
Looking at this picture and thinking about things in general, there were vehicles that showed up during all the desert wars that trickled back. Does anybody know where the M36 ended up?
which one?
Jackson? I don't know. Were there more than one?
Iraq.
Yeah.
There's the one from Iraq.
Yep, there's a couple things. We have an M36 re-engined with a V2 motor that I knew of because I climbed on it in '98 when we were doing weapon storage site inventories. But that was there, and it was buttoned up. It has the grenade shields on top.
Yeah.
But there was an M36B1 right next to it, which I hope went to hood. So yeah, we got that in an M18. They were both Croatian or both Serbian.
Yeah.
VRS. There's also an M4 A370 or 105 HVSS that was in Italy, and then it got through mutual assistance sent to the Shah, and then somewhere between 1979 and when it got blasted with the Maverick, it got captured by the Iraqis, and it got a Maverick through the back deck. So we still have the motor, and we still have the turrets off a little bit, but it's sitting in the yard as well, brought back. So.
Yeah, the story of how they came up with all those M18s and M36s is always, I just rolled when I saw that.
Or putting 55 turrets on M18s or vice versa.
No, I mean, these are the ones we got over here now. This is where
Oh,
they came
yeah.
from. There's a guy in England named Bob Fleming, who was a big wheeler dealer. He was responsible for the Budge collection. Well, he went down there, and of course they had all this stuff. They had like 6 or 7 M18s, which were actually M18s, not modified. And then they had all the modified M36s. They said, yeah, we're willing to get rid of them. But at the time, Clinton had put out a thing saying nothing's coming back. If it is, it's going to get torched. We're going to burn it in place. He came up with something where they sold the vehicles to the Turks, and the Turks sold them to the Italians, and the Italians sold them to somebody else who sold them to the Brits, and then they sold them to the U.S. You know, the cost, was nominal, like, a couple of bucks each time it changed hands. But he had all the audit trail, and all of a sudden these vehicles started showing up in the U.S. And the first time anybody saw was when M18 and M36 showed up at Indiantown Gap for one of the Battle of the Bulge recreations. And where the hell did these come from? So now you got the State Department interested in this. Okay, at the same time, Budge sold off his collection. And what happens out in California, but what comes driving off one of the cargo ships, but a Scud launcher. And one of our intrepid customs guys sees the Scud launcher driving on, says, I know that's a Scud missile. So they impound it, and next thing I